Hello everyone, we're going to read about Geronimo Stilton, The Secret of Cacklefur Castle. On a cheesy autumn afternoon, let me introduce myself. My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton. I run the Rodent Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. My office is in 17th Swiss Cheese Center. That is where I was when this terrifying tale began. It was a beautiful autumn afternoon at the end of October. What a lovely, peaceful day, I said out loud. I spoke too soon. All of a sudden, the walls started to shake. Vroom! A loud roaring sound filled my office. My desk began to tremble. The pencil cup that my Aunt Switford gave me for my birthday tumbled to the floor. Holy cheese! I cried. Vroom! The roaring got louder. Then a mouse on a motorcycle rode through my door. It was my sister, Dia, of course. Dia, I squeaked. How many times do I have to tell you not to ride your motorcycle into my office? I'm worried about you, Geronimo, Dia said. You have not written a new book in a long time. What's wrong? Dia is a special correspondent for the Rodent Gazette. Still, I did not appreciate her sticking her snout into my business. I pointed to the pile of papers on my desk. I am too busy to write, I said. There is a lot of other work to do around here. Tia frowned. This is not like you, Geronimo. You always had time to write before, she scolded. Then she peeled out the office, her tires squealing. I sighed and sat down at my desk. What could I do? I had to do my paperwork. My tail had just hit the chair when the door flew open a second time. This time my cousin Trap burst in. He held a triple-decker cheese sandwich in one paw. Geronimo, you have become lazier than a mouse with an automatic cheese slicer. You must write something new, he yelled. I need to be inspired before I can write, I huffed. I can just pluck an idea out of my whiskers. The door flew open a third time. Pinky picked my very young assistant editor bounded in. Hey boss, she said cheerfully. I am organizing a party for your next book. It's going to be famous. Faber Mouse. My tail twitched. I was starting to get annoyed, but I haven't even written it yet, I squeaked. The door flew open a fourth time. It was my favorite nephew, Benjamin, on his way home from school. Hello, Uncle, he said. My friends are all asking when your next book is coming out. I felt embarrassed. I hated to disappoint Benjamin. He gazed up at me with his sweet round eyes. It will be out soon, Benjamin, I said. I promise. Trap, Pinky, and Benjamin left me to my work. I finished the stack of papers on my desk, but I could not stop thinking about what everybody had said. What will my next book be about? The beautiful autumn afternoon turned into a beautiful crisp evening. I looked outside my window and gazed out every new mouse city. A cold wind blew up and lifted the shattered colored leaf off the ground. I watched them float and swirl in the night air. I needed an idea, but I didn't have any. I had to think, I said. I sat down at my desk. A few hours later, I was still thinking. I had no ideas. Nothing. My mind was as dry as a stale slice of cheese. Feeling helpless, I started to sob. It is no use, I moaned. My writing days are over. A mysterious phone call. The phone rang, drowning out my sobs. Ring, ring, ring. I wiped the tears off my whiskers. Then I picked up the phone. Hello, I said sadly. Stilton speaking, Geronimo Stilton. Is that you, my little cheese nip? A sickly, sweet voice asked. My first stood on end. I knew that voice. It was Cripella vo Cacklefur. I first met Cripella last October. She's not like other mice. She has shiny gray fur. Her eyes are as green as poisonous snakes. She wears a long purple gown and matching purple nail polish. Cripella's father, Boris, lived in a funeral parlor at 33 Dark Grave Drive. Cripella lived in a crypt in the cemetery. Her mouse hole is filled with cobwebs and dead flowers. All that is pretty spooky, but here is the scariest part of all. Cripella wants me to be her boyfriend. Hello, Cripella, I said nervously. I need you, Geronimo, Cripella said. My grandfather, Professor Frankenstein, has died. His will is being read tomorrow night. I need to leave for Cacklefur Castle right away. It's in the Valley of the Vain Vampires. I need you to come with me, my little bat wing. Cacklefur Castle, the valley of the vain vampires. I hate things that are spooky, but Cripella was not finished yet. It will be wonderful, Geronimo, she said. I'll introduce you to my family. Her family? I had already met her father, and he was creepy enough. I really did not want to meet any more Cacklefurs. I'm sorry, Cripella, I said quickly. I can't go with you. I am busy, working on my next book. Really? Cripella asked. She sounded suspicious. What is it about? I didn't know what to say. It's a secret, I lied. Cripella didn't buy it. Your book can wait, my little toadstool. I will be at your office with my heart faster than a spider can spin a web, so get ready. Then she hung up. I had to do something. My whiskers were quivering with fright. I did not want to see Cripella. I did not want to ride in her ears. I did not want to go to Cacklefur Castle. I did not want to meet Cripella's family. I quickly thought up a plan. I put on a pair of dark glasses, a hat, and a raincoat. Then I scurried to the back door. I opened it, and someone tipped me. I fell right on my snout. I looked up into Cripella's green eyes. I know you so well, my little pumpkin, she said, smiling. I knew you will put on a disguise and try to escape out the back. Cripella picked me up and shoved me into her ears. Help! I shrieked. I'm being mouse and I was in trouble. Big trouble. Cripella sat into the driver's seat. How do you like my ears? She asked. Of course, it doesn't normally carry living mouse, but I'm sure you'll be comfortable. Putrid cheese puffs! Get me out of here! I screamed. Cripella just smiled. You can't escape, Geronimo, she said. You might as well get comfortable. How could I be comfortable in a hearse? With Cripella? Let me out, I yelled. Cripella winked at me. You are going to love Cacklefur Castle, my little ghosty woosy. Then she began to sing a little tune. We are going to Cacklefur Castle. It's creaky and deary and gray. We're going to Cacklefur Castle, and forever and ever we'll stay. I sighed and put on my seatbelt. There was no escape, only one that come for me. If I ever did get home, I will definitely have something to write about. The Valley of the Vain Vampires. We drove all through the night. By the time dawn came, we had reached a gloomy valley. Thick trees with twisted branches grew all around. I looked away from the trees into the valley. The mountainside was shaped like a giant skull, a creepy castle with a lot of towers set on top of it. It looked so spooky, I knew it had to be Cacklefur Castle. The Valley of the Vain Vampires, Shrieking Peak, Screaming Peak, Scaredy Cat Mountain, Mangy Mouse Mountain, Cacklefur Castle. Rancid Red River, Nightmare Wood, Sleazy Snot Stream, Toad Spit Brook, Pooter Pond, Gold Scully, Dangerous Dale. A muddy moat surrounded the castle. Cripella stopped the car in front of a drawbridge blocked by a gate. The gate was marked with a carved wooden sign, Cacklefur Castle. Cripella leaned out of the car and rang a bell on the gate. Meow! I nearly jumped out of my fur. What was that? I want to go home, I squeaked. Propeller laughed. Calm down, my little cheesecake. It's only the doorbell. Someone inside the castle lowered the drawbridge. As we drove across the moat, I thought I saw two eyes gleaming from the depth of the murky water, but it must have been my imagination, right? Welcome to Cacklefur Castle. Welcome to Cacklefur Castle, Cripella shrieked. She parked the car and we walked up the front door. I could make out a plant next to the doorway, a big plant. It had a thorny stem that had spiky leaves. And when I looked closer, I saw the plant had white, sharp, shiny teeth. Red munching rattlesnake, I cried. The plant leaned over and sniffed me. Then it bit off one of my buttons. Geronimo, meet chompers, our watch plant, Rapella said. I quickly turned on my cell phone. I'm just going to call my sister, I said casually. I want to tell her I'll be mouse nap. I mean that I'll be away for a while. Rapella's green eye flashed. She snatched the phone away. No phone calls, she snapped. They are forbidden here. She threw my cell phone to the plant. Here, chompers, she said. A little snack for you. The plant gulped down my phone in one mouthful. I began to lose hope. I was going to be trapped in Cacklefur Castle forever. Rapella stepped out to the door. I followed her. I set my paw on the doormat, and it cried out, Ouch! I jumped back. What kind of a place was this? Rapella opened the door. We stepped into an enormous hall with marble floors. Tall windows led in the morning sunlight. Paintings of the Cacklefur families and the stores lined the wall. Rapella turned her snout to mine. It's so good to be home, she said with a sigh. How about a kiss, my little zombie wombi? I took a step back. A cold breeze blew through the windows. The curtains whirled in the air like ghosts. Rapella turned to the window. This room has a lovely view of the graveyard, isn't it, Romantis? I want to go home, I wailed. Then I heard a loud cough. I turned around. A gray rat stood there. He held a candelabra in his paws. He was tall and thin, with a pointy snout and whiskers that were waxed and curled. What a curious-looking rodent. I can't believe my ears. This is Bonham, our Balter, Pripella said. How are you today, Bonham? The thin rat bowed. Very bad, thank you, Miss Von Cacklefur. Then he looked up and saw me. Good heavens, we have a guest, he said, shocked. This is Geronimo Stilton, Pripella declared. We are going to be married. I almost fainted. Well, that's not, I stammered. I mean, Cripella and I will see you later, my little monster pie, Cripella said. She turned to the butler. Take care of him for me, please. I will do my worst, Miss Cripella, the butler said. Bonham led me down a very long, very narrow, and very dark hallway. He pointed out rooms in the castle as we walked. Over there is the greenhouse, he explained. That is where we grow the flea-eating eggs. Now berries, my pride and joy. And at the end of this hall, you'll find the library, the gym, the crocodile pool, and the piranha tank. I could not believe my ears. What kind of a house has a crocodile pool? And this stairs lead to the castle dungeons, Bonham continued. My stomach rumbled. I had not eaten for hours and hours. Where is the kitchen? I asked. The butler pointed to a door. In there, but please make sure you call it kitchen with a capital K. It's feeling get hurt if you don't. Then the butler coughed. Mr. Stilton, he began. I have heard you are a publisher. I am working on a masterpiece. It entitled The Adventure of the Cacklefur Family. So far I have written 365 volumes. Would you mind taking a look at it? I gave him a card. Give me a call when you are finished reading, I told him. Here lies the guest. Bonham stopped in front of a purple door engraved with a skull. A braised plaque Q on the door read, "Guest room." Bonham opened the door and I peeked inside. It was a strange-looking room. Thick purple velvet covered the walls. It reminded me of the inside of a pricey coffin. Creepy. The dresser was shiny and black. The silver handle looked like coffin handles. A large bed with four posts set in the center of the room. Beds and spires were carved into the post. Over the bed hung a sign, "Here lies the great guest." I gulped and stepped inside. How was I supposed to get any sleep in the chambers of all horrors? I shivered at the thought. Bonham cleared his throat. We could certainly use a fire on this chilly autumn day. I turned toward the fireplace. There was no fire. The butler spoke again, more loudly this time. I said we could certainly use a fire. Once again, I was confused. Who was Bonham talking to? Finally, Bonham began to yell, "We need a fire! A fire! It is cold enough to freeze your whiskers in here." Suddenly, a crackling fire began to burn in the fireplace. I stepped back, shocked. What had happened? Was this some kind of magic? "Oh, I am sorry, sir," Bonham said. "The fireplace is a bit deaf. It is more than 300 years old, you see." I took another step back and found myself standing next to a tall mirror. At last, I thought it was a mirror. I could not see my reflection in it. "Is something wrong with the mirror?" I asked. "Oh, the mirror has probably just gone somewhere to take a nap," Bonham answered. "It's very lazy, sir. So sorry." A deaf fireplace? A lazy mirror? What kind of a place was this? Bonham walked toward the door. "One more thing, sir," he said. "Be careful of the carpet. It is real popular, and if you need anything, just yell." The butler left and closed the door. I looked down at the carpet, curious, without warning. It pulled out from under me. Splat! I fell flat on my snout. Then the carpet rolled up, with me inside it. Bonham opened the door. "I told you, sir, the carpet is a real popular." Then he shut the door behind him. I could not take it any more. I was hungry, I was tired, and now I was rolled up in a paw-pulling carpet. "I want to go home," I wailed. Earthworm, liver, and leech lard. I unrolled myself from the carpet. There was no way I could sleep in this awful room. I decided to search for something to eat instead. I was so hungry I would have given my left paw for a cheese sandwich. As I walked down the hallway, a delicious smell wafted toward me. My whiskers twitched. Sniff, sniff. It smelled like stew. I followed my snout until I found the kitchen. It was an enormous room with a brick ceiling and stone floor. I saw a rat stirring a pot over the stove. If I were being polite, I might describe him as a heavy red with a stained apron and waxed whiskers. But I was tired and hungry, and not feeling very polite, and so I'll tell you that he was a very fat sour rat with a filthy smelling apron and greasy whiskers. Not at all the kind of a rat mouse of the fines tastes like to see in a kitchen. The cook was humming a tune while he stirred the pot. The cook saw me and beckoned me closer. Now I could see a cloud of tiny bugs flying around his head. He held up a spoon. "Do me a favor and taste this," he said. I was so hungry. I slurped the stew right from the spoon. "Very good," I said, licking my whiskers. "In fact, it's excellent." The cook grinned. "Nobody makes stew like mine. It's the best around." He grabbed a bowl and filled it to the brim for me. I grabbed it eagerly. Maybe this trip wasn't so bad after all, I thought. The delicious stew made up for all of the horrible things I had found so far. "The stew is quite wonderful," I said. "Would you mind telling me what's in it?" "Of course not," the cook said, beaming. "Let's see. There is earthworm, liver, leech lard, black scorpion claws, wasp stinkers, bath thigh, crushed red termite, shark fins, piranha teeth, iguana claws, viper venom, snake spleen, plus a little salt and pepper." My stomach lurched. What? The cook smiled. He grabbed a cockroach crawling across the stove. Then he tossed it into the stew. How do you think my stew got so good? He asked. It is because I kept adding surprise ingredients. I watched in horror as he took off one of his smelly socks and threw it into the stew. Just a little bit of the flavor, he said. Don't want to overdo it. He pulled out the sock. I will tell you a secret, he whispered. This stew has been simmering in this pot for the last 500 years. I inherited it from my great grandfather. I felt betrayed. I felt sick. I felt dizzy. I want to go home, I wailed. Just then, a loud female voice rang through the kitchen. Chef, student! The cook turned around. His eyes gleamed with excitement. Madame, la tombe, he cried. Sing for me, my little weird canary. A very strange mouse entered the kitchen. She wore an old-fashioned dress, trimmed with lace, a bat-shaped necklace hung around her neck. She had a huge pile of white hair on top of her head. When she got closer, I noticed she had a strange odor like dead flowers. But that was not the only strange thing about Madame Latombe. I swore I heard a growl when she came in. Grrr! But I could not tell where the sound was coming from. Madame Latombe smiled at the cook. Chef Sternat, I need today's menu. Of course, Madame Latombe, said the cook in a sweet voice. You do look lovely today. Here is the menu. Thank you, Chef, Madame Latombe said. She turned and left the kitchen, and as she walked away, she sang a strange little song. Sing for me, my dearie, sing for me, my little weird canary. And she sang. I saw a little yellow bird pop out of Madame Latombe's hair. The bird looked at me and growled. I shivered. I didn't know what a weird canary was, but I was sure it wasn't nice. You're looking so pale, shivering. I left the kitchen, rubbing my grumbling belly. Somehow I had to find a way out of Cacklefur Castle. I opened the first door and I could find and step inside. I found myself in an enormous hall filled with strange-looking rodents. I looked down at my paws. The marble floor was lizard green. I looked up. Candlelight cast ghostly shadows on the walls. I felt a paw on my shoulder and squeaked in surprise. It was Creepella. Hello, my little zombie Womby, she said, stroking on my whiskers. How do you like the castle? I want to go home, I cried. Creepella ignored me. She grabbed my paw and dragged me into the hall. I'm going to introduce you to the family, Geronimo, she said. Please don't embarrass me. Before I could reply, a teenage mouse ran up to us. She looked like a smaller version of Creepella. She had the same shiny gray fur, and she seemed very fond of the color purple. She wore a purple shirt and jeans. She carried a bat-shaped purse. And perched on top of her shoulder was a real-life chameleon. Hello, Auntie, the little mouse said. How nice to see you. Creepella hugged her. Oh, Shivering, you look pale. How lovely. Thanks, answered Shivering. I love your dress. It's so mysterious. Creepella pushed me forward. Shivering, I'd like to meet Geronimo Stilton. We are going to be married. That's not exactly, I began, but Shivering interrupted me. When is the wedding? She squeaked. Never, I screamed. Enough was enough. Don't listen to Geronimo, Creepella said, taking her niece's arm. He's just a little tired from our trip. Now tell me, do you have a mouse friend yet? The two mice walked away, chattering. I looked around the hall, hoping to find a friendly face or a way to escape. I saw something that might help. An old-fashioned phone hung on the wall. I crept over to it, as quiet as a mouse, and quickly dialed my sister, Thea. Hello, Thea, I whispered. It's me, Geronimo. I'll be in mouse nap. Suddenly the telephone began to scream. Put down the phone, Chatterface. No phone calls allowed. No phone calls allowed. Creepella ran over and hung up the phone. Well done, telephone, she told the phone. Geronimo was being very naughty indeed. I want to go home, I wailed. The mice in the hollow all looked at me. That Geronimo Stilton is a strange mouse, they whispered. Snip and Snap, the spooky twins. Bonam walked into the hall, carrying a gong. He put earplugs in his ears. Then he struck the gong with a mallet. The loud sound rang through the hall. Gong! I held my ear and followed everyone into the dining hall. Chef Stewart was wheeling in the tray with the stew pot. Stew is ready, he cried. Come and get it. My stomach lurched at the thought of more stew. As everyone scrambled for a seat at the long dining table, I saw my chance. I quickly ducked under the table. Unfortunately, I wasn't alone. I found myself staring at two young mice who looked exactly alike. At first, they did not look like the other Cacklefurs. They both had very neat hair and very normal-looking clothes, but they each had a weak gleam in their eyes. I suddenly heard Crepella shout, I just look out the window. Who painted flowers on my ears? If I catch him, I'll tear his whiskers out one by one. It must have been Snip and Snap, said Madame Le Tom. Beside me, the twin mice began to giggle. Kafka, the faithful cockroach. Before I could question the boys, I felt something lick my ankle. Then I heard the bark. Arf! Kafka has sniffed out something, shrieked Crepella. I turned around and looked at my ankle. A huge cockroach sat there. It was sitting on its hind legs and barking like a dog. Arf, arf, arf. Quiet, I hissed. But it was too late. Madame La Tom lifted the tablecloth. Come on out, you little scoundrel, she commanded. Snip and Snap crawled out from under the table. I had no choice but to follow them. Repella shrieked. My hair used to be so gloomy and now it looks cheerful. He did it, said Snip, pointing to Snap. He did it, said Snap, pointing to Snip. The boys looked at each other. Then they pointed at me. No, he did it, they squeaked. I did not, I protested. Repella batted her green eyes. Naughty boy, Geronimo, you must give me a kiss, and I'll forgive you. Before I could protest, she puckered up her snout and kissed me. The joking ghost. Everyone sat down at the table, but the moment my bottom touched the seat, there was a loud, embarrassing noise. Pfft. Excuse me, I said, tumbling bright red. I didn't mean. Then I realized what had happened. Someone had put a whoopee cushion on my chair. Who put this here? I shrieked. It wasn't us this time, said Snip and Snap. I didn't believe them, but they were telling the truth. It was the bully, sir, explained Bonaham. He is the castle ghost. He loves to play jokes. He's very playful. Just then, my water glass floated off the table. But then the water poured onto my lap. Bowie seems to like you a lot, sir, said the bulter. I shuddered. What will Bowie do if he didn't like me? Everyone began to eat their stew. I looked into my bowl and frowned. Inside the bubbling goo, I saw one of my own buttons. I saw a yellow canary feather, too. I put away the bowl in disgust. Excuse me, chef, I asked. May I have something else to eat? A salad, maybe? Chef Stewart looked angry. Are you saying you don't like my stew? Everyone at the table stared at me. That Geronimo Stilton is a strange mouse, they murmured. The chef sighed. I can make you a salad if you want. How about some poison ivy with slime dressing, or sour algae with moldy mushrooms and some nice pond scum on top? I turned as pale as a piece of mozzarella. How about some fruit instead? I have just the thing, Chef Stewart said. How about a bowl of flesh-eating strawberries? Their teeth are nice and sharp. I turned even paler. No, thank you, I said weakly. Well, what will it be? Asked the chef. Some snake steak or some nice toxic tiger fish? It's fresh from the moat. I think I'll just skip supper, I said. My poor stomach growled. Have some toadstool tea, my little batwing, said Crepella. I will make your tummy feel better. The thing has a tummy ache. I turned down and toadstool tea and laughed. I was walking down the hallway when suddenly the castle walls began to shake. Then I heard a strange rumbling sound. Burp. My fur stood on end. Pudrig, cheese puffs, I cried. It's an earthquake. Bonaham and the bulter walked up to me. It is not an earthquake, sir. It's just a thing. Bonham led me to the window. He pointed to the green, slimy moat that surrounded the castle. The thing is a tummy ache, he explained. What sting? I squeaked. I leaned out the window for a better look. The moat gurgled and bubbled below. Bonham pulled me back. Be careful, sir. The thing will eat anything it can. Don't get too close to the moat. We'll lose many guests that way. Thank you, Bonham, I stammered. I scurried back to my room. My mind was racing faster than a hamster on a wheel. Cacklefur Castle was too much for me. The mouse-eating thing in the moat was the last straw. There had to be some way to escape. I looked out the window. I am afraid of height. But I was not too far from the ground. Maybe, just maybe, I called. I put my plan into action. I took the sheet off the bed. I tied them together to make one long rope. I tied one end of the rope to the bedpost. Then I dropped the rest out the window. I took a deep breath and began to climb down. Suddenly, the sheet began to swing back and forth. Above me, the window shutters began to rattle. Then the window began to tease me. Nya, 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 nya. The window sang. I gripped the sheet tightly. I did not want to fall. I want to go home, I screamed. Below me, I saw Bonham driving up in a strange car. There was the big net attached to it. Hold on, sir, he called up. The sheet twisted once more. I lost my grip. I fell, plop, and I landed safely in Bonham's net. The net dropped me on the grass. Kafka, the cockroach, ran up. He left his legs and peeped on my pant. Why is this happening to me? I sobbed. I am a good mouse. I don't deserve this. I ran back up to my room and jumped in bed. I pulled the covers over my head. Maybe this was all just a bad dream. But it wasn't. The matters began to tickle my tail. I jumped out of bed. I decided to take a hot bath instead, to calm my nerves. I turned on the water, then I jumped back. The water was streaming hot. I tried another knob. This time the water was freezing. Actual ice cubes floated on the water. The bathtub laughed at me. Ha ha ha. I gave up the bath, but there was one thing I really had to do. I slowly walked up to the toilet. I had to go, but I was a little nervous. What will the toilet be like? It looked scary. It was black with skulls and crossbones on the tank. Slowly, I lifted the lid. The toilet began to gurgle. Use me if you dare. You're in for quite a scare. Maybe I'll flood the room or suck you to your room. My whiskers quivered in fear. I backed away slowly. The toilet kept singing. The window shutters kept clapping. The bed kept laughing. The closet joined in. It began opening and shutting a door. Bang, 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 bang. I covered my ears and ran out of the guest room. I want to go home, I wailed. The attack of the flesh-eating strawberries. I bumped into the twins in the hall. Where is the bathroom? I asked them. Snip and Snap pointed to a nearby door. It's in there. Thank you, I said, how polite. But when I opened the door, I saw I wasn't in a bathroom. I was in a greenhouse. Clay pot with small green plants filled the room. For a moment, I thought I heard a noise. Munch, munch, munch. I moved closer to the plant. They looked so pretty. Each plant was loaded with red, sweet-smelling fruit. Strawberries, I said, at last. Something normal to eat. I reached out with my paw to pick a strawberry, and it bit me. Ow, I cried. I looked down. The little strawberry had a mouth and tiny teeth. I want to go home, I wailed. All at once, the strawberry jumped out of their pot. They began to chase me. Munch, munch, munch. Their little teeth chomped as they got closer and closer. Luckily, at that very moment, Bonham ran in. He was carrying a can of sardines. Dinner time, my sweet, he called out. The strawberry ran to Bonham. He fed them the sardines. They gobbled them up like a pack of cats at a mouse buffet. I sighed with relief and headed for the door. It was then that I noticed a sign on the wall. Flesh-eating strawberries, enter at your own risk. Then I heard a giggle. I turned to Snip and Snap. You rotten little rattlers, I cried. The twins just laughed and ran away. I scurried down the hall looking for a bathroom door. In the dim light, I saw a small yellow figure flying toward me. It was Madame Latmore Canary. The little bird chomped on my finger with its sharp beak. Ow, I squeaked. Madame let Tom step out of the door. Come here, my little songbird, she said. The weird canary flew to Madame let Tom and disappeared into her huge chair door. I wanted to tell her what I thought of her little terror, but I really had to find a bathroom now. I looked at the nearest door. It had a sign with the teeny weeny print on it. Do not open this door. Don't even think about it. Really, don't try it. Bonham ran up to me. Please don't open this door, sir, he said. We have lots many guests this way. But what is inside? I asked. Bonham's whiskers twitched. I do not know, sir, he said, but I am sure it is not very nice. A surprise in the dark. I had had enough surprises for one day. I found another door. This one did not have any signs on it. I opened it. I stepped into a dark room. I felt on the wall for a light switch, but there was none. Then I made out a shape in the dark, a toilet. Relieved, I sat down and began to take care of business. When I was done, I reached out to grab the toilet paper. I touched something that felt like toilet paper, so I gave it a pull. I flushed the toilet, then I remembered I had a small flashlight in my pocket. I took it out, turned it on, and found myself face to face with a mummy. Help! I shrieked. With horror, I realized I hadn't found toilet paper at all. I had found the wrapping of a mouse mummy. My paws trembled. I dropped the flashlight. The light went out. Help! I screamed again. The door opened. Crispella stepped inside. There you are, my little ghosty woosty, she said. What are you doing in the staff bathroom? This is where my grandfather kept his mummies. He was fixing them. You didn't hurt them, did you? I was still in shock. Mommy, I stammered. Suddenly, I felt someone step on my tail. I whirled around. Snip and Snap stood there giggling. He did it, I said Snap. He did it, said Snap. I want to go home, I wailed. The Cacklefur family gathered in the hallway. They shook their heads. That Geronimo Stilton is a strange mouse, they cried. I want to go home. Still shaking, I made my way back to the guest room. At least there were no mummies there, but I got lost in the long hallways. As I searched for my door, I noticed something on the floor. I reached down and picked it up. It was an old piece of paper. I raised it to my snout. It was a treasure map. Even though I was tired and scared and hungry and I had to follow the map, I was too curious to resist. I took 3 steps to the right, then 2 steps to the left, then 1 more step to the right. I found myself facing a big stone in the wall with the letter T carved in it. T for treasure? Excited, I pushed on the stone and fell down a tunnel. I tumbled down. Finally, I found myself in a cold, dark room. I stood up and brushed the dust off my fur. I looked around. Cobwebs dangled from the corners. A grinning skeleton hung from the wall. I took a step back and fell right into a coffin. I jumped out and bumped into a suit's armor. I fell back and tripped over a tombstone. I stood up and found myself holding a mummy. Then I heard a ghostly wail, boo! I want to go home, I screamed. Suddenly, all the lights came on. In the light, I could see that everything was fake. The dust was made of flour. The cobwebs were made of cotton candy. The skeleton was made of plastic. The coffin was made of rubber. The suit of armor was made of soda cans. The tombstone was made of cardboard. The mummy was made of toilet paper. And the ghostly song was coming from a speaker on the wall. I also saw a sign on the wall. Saw Snip and Snap's collection of tricks. Paws off. I should have known. Those twin terrors were behind this. I was fed up. I found the staircase and ran up the steps. Snip and Snap were in the hall smiling. I know you left that treasure map for me to find, I growled. He did it, said Snap. He did it, said Snip. Bonham shook his head. Snip and Snap have struck again, sir. Professor Frankenstein will. I was looking for my room again when I noticed that all of the Cacklefurs had left the dining room table. They were gathered in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, I remembered why Crepella had brought me here in the first place, for the reading of her grandfather's will. They saw that curiosity kills the cat, but I am a mouse, after all, and very curious one at that. I stood in the background and listened to what the family was saying. Poor Professor Frankenstein, said the mouse. Remember how much he loved mummy joke? Yes, he had many mummy jokes, said another. Many, many mummy jokes. Maybe too many mummy jokes. The chattering stopped when a plump rodent walked in. It's Brawn Bad News, the family lawyers, the Cacklefur first whispered. Brian Bad News was an unpleasant-looking mouse. He carried a small silver box shaped like a coffin. The lawyer cleared his throat. Attention, Cacklefurs, he announced. The moment you have been waiting for is here. Byron tapped the lid of the coffin. In this box I have. He paused dramatically. For Professor Frankenstein's will. The family began to chatter in excitement. What will you do if he left you the castle? Asked one mouse. I will turn it into a horror museum, replied another mouse. I will turn it into an amusement park, said another. I will open a vacation lodge, said another. Chef Surratt tapped his paw immediately on the floor. Cheese chunks, he cried. Are you going to read the will or what? I have to go stir my stew. Byron Bad News sniffed. You seem to have your tail in a twitch, he said. Very well. I will read the will. Cacklefur Castle's ghost too. Byron Bad News lifted the lid of the coffin. A stream of black shot out and scored at him in the snout. Who did this? He bellowed. He did it, said Snip. He did it, said Snap. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the castle. Thunder shook the castle wall. Boom! All the candles blew out. The room was as dark as the inside of a tomcat's tummy. An icy wind swirled through the room. It froze the tips of my whiskers. Isn't this fun? Crepella asked, grabbing my paw. I told you have a good time at Cacklefur Castle. A good time? This was the worst time I'll ever had in my life. I want to go home, I wailed. At that moment, the doors to the dining hall flew open. A shadowy figure stood in the doorway. It's grandfather's ghost, the Cacklefurs all cried at once. I'm not a ghost, said the figure. I am alive and squeaking my dear family. The light came back on. A small, skinny mouse stood in the doorway. His face was the color of moldy cheese. The white fur on his head stuck straight up. He wore stained white lab coat. He walked with a limp and leaned on a can. As he limped closer, I got a better look at him. One of his eyes was made of glass. Professor Frankenstein adjusted his false teeth. Then he gazed at his family. What a nice family reunion, he said. Why does everybody look so sad? You look like you're at a funeral, huh? Grandfather, you're alive, shouted the Cacklefurs. Of course I am, Professor Frankenstein crackled. I was picking mushrooms in Nightmare Wood. I fell asleep under the tree of eternal rest. If a bat had not peed on my snout, I would never have woken up. The mice all nodded their heads in surprise. The professor waved his cane in the air. Sorry to disappoint you, family, he squeaked. Cacklefur Castle is mine, so paws off, or you'll be sorry. Everyone in the dining hall looked slightly afraid. Professor Frankenstein smiled. Don't look so glum. I have some blood-curdling jokes to tell you. You will laugh your head off. Speaking of mummies, the professor slapped me on the shoulders. Did you like my jokes? He asked. And who you are anyway? The name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton, I asked. Crepella walked up and kissed me on the snout. Isn't he sweet? She asked. He and I are getting married. I cleared my throat. Actually, we are not. But Professor Frankenstein interrupted me. So, this is our latest victim. I mean, Fiance, he said. What's your name again? Gabriel? Geronimo, I said. He pinched my cheek. So when will the wedding be done? Never, I said firmly. He ignored me. Well then, Gerald, you'll have better treat my little Crepella well. If anyone dares to treat my granddaughter badly, I will turn into a mummy. He waved his cane. The Cacklefur also agreed. That's right, we pitied the mouse who mistreat our Crepella. I was quacking in my fur. Of course, Professor, I said, I will treat Crepella well. Rodden's word of honor. Professor Frankenstein pulled a watch from his pocket. I must go, my dear Gregory, he said. The mummy of the great Mouse has arrived. I must get to work. Before the professor left, he told anybody joke. Why did the werewolf cross the road to eat the chicken on the other side? Ha! With that, he limped down the hallway, still laughing. Chef Strawberry came up to me. I shall get started on your wedding cake. Stew cake with stew frosting, of course. When will the wedding be? Never, I yelled at the top of my voice. The Cacklefurs all stared at me. That Geronimo Stilton is a strange mouse, they whispered. Wah, wah, wah. The doorbell meowed. Meow. Bonham scurried to lift the drawbridge. It must be Mr. Von Cacklefur, he said. A few minutes later, a very thin rat came through the door. He was dressed in black and wore a top hat. I had met him before. It was Boris Von Cacklefur, Crepella's father. He held out the pot to me. Hello there, Geronimo, he said. You look well. Too bad. We're having a sale on coffins this week. Ha ha. Nice to meet you, Mr. Von Cacklefur, I said. Then another sound rang through the hall. Wah, wah, wah. Curious, we all ran to the door. Bonham took a pair of binoculars out of his pocket. He looked down. Cheddar biscuit, he exclaimed. What is that? I looked through the binoculars. There was a small basket in front of the drawbridge, and it sounded as if the basket was crying. We all ran outside. Inside the basket was a tiny bundle. Wrapped in a basket, the butler moved aside the blanket to reveal the baby mouse. Moldy mummies, cried Professor Frankenstein. A little orphan, said Bonham. He's so small, said Boris. He's so sweet, said Crepella. My, he can cry, said Madame Latom. Snip said, he must be hungry, Snip said. Chef Stewart clapped his paws together. He needs some stew. The members of the Cacklefur family surrounded the baby. The little mouselet stopped crying. He opened his eyes and looked at them all. Then he smiled. The secret of the Cacklefur family. We must have a big family meeting, shouted Professor Frankenstein. The entire family gathered in the library. Ladies and gentlemen, mice, rodents and rats, dead and alive, family and friends, began the professor. Even you, Garrett, we must have an important decision. We have found a little baby. What shall we do? Boris and Cacklefur placed his paw on his heart. I hate to be a muesli mouse, but this makes me think of a poem by Emily Dickinson. That love is all there is all we know of love. I felt my eyes fill with tears. What a lovely poem. Boris went on. We all know the Cacklefur family secret, he said. We love one another. With love, we can do anything. The mice nodded in agreement. This little mouselet needs our love, said Boris, and we have plenty to give him. Crepella stood up. Let's vote on it. If you think we should adopt the orphan mouse, raise your paw. Every Cacklefur raised a paw. This mouselet is no longer an orphan, said Boris. As of today, he is a Cacklefur. The Cacklefur all cheered. I took the baby in my paws. What a sweet little snout he has, I said. What will you call him? He needs a name. Crepella passed around a piece of paper. Everyone write down a name, she said. When the Cacklefur were done, she read the names out loud. Mummykins, Froggy, Skunky, Howler, Skeletino, Creepers, Zigzag, Scully, Spiderette, Patrick, Toady, Iger, Screamer, Stewie, Mushmouse, Fester, Spooksy, Grimmy, Spectre, Dreamy, Slimer. Don't you think those names are a bit weird for a baby? I asked. That's it, the Cacklefur shouted. We'll call him Baby. Just then, I felt something wet and warm on my jacket. I think the little Cacklefur has done a wee-wee, I said. Our love is stronger than cheese. Chef Stewart ran to the kitchen. I must get him a bottle of stew. It is just what he needs. I put baby in a coffin-shaped cat cradle. Madame let Tom took out her violin and played him a lullaby. Go to sleep, little Cacklefur. Your family is near. We will all watch over you, to us you are dear. So go to sleep if you please. Our love for you is stronger than cheese. Stew power. I kissed baby. Then I decided to walk around the castle. Somehow the Cacklefur did not seem so scary anymore. Because I love books. I went to the library. Old rare book filled the shelves. I flipped through the pages. Some of the books were so old they used written by monks. What treasures! Then I found a large book on a tall wooden stand. The leather cover was the color of American cheese. The book looked quite old. The title caught my eye, The History of Cacklefur Castle. I sat in a comfortable chair next to the fireplace. Then I began to read. Cacklefur Castle is built on a skull-shaped hill. A blast of thunder interrupted my reading. Bam! The window flew open. A huge oak tree flashed into the room. Its branches were flaming. It must have been struck by lightning. The curtains had caught fire. Soon the flames will race toward the bookshelves. All of those beautiful rare books. I ran out of the room. The library is on fire, I screamed. I looked for something to put out the fire with. I pushed open the door and found myself in the kitchen. The cart of stew was right in front of me. I had an idea. I pushed the cat cart toward the hall as fast as I could. When I got to the library, I dumped the stew pot into the flames. The fire went out, as if by magic. I fell to the floor, exhausted. But now all of the Cacklefur family had arrived in the library. What is it? Asked the professor. What's happened? Asked Bonaham. The library began. Was on fire, Snap finished. Geronimo put out the fire, Shivering said. Geronimo is a hero, announced Madame Latom. Repel a beam. Good for you, my little batwing. Chef the Red smiled. That is what I call stew power. The Cacklefur scattered around me. Professor Frankenstein slapped me on the shoulder. You saved the library, he said. You are one of the family now, George. I sighed. My name is Geronimo. Goodbye, dear Cacklefurs. The sun was sinking in the eye. Yes, all of these amazing adventures happened in just one day. Get ready, my little chatterpuff, Crepella said to me. We're going back to New Mouse City. Crepella took my arm and led me to the dining hall. But we just got here, I protested, believe us or not. I was starting to enjoy myself. Suddenly, the light went out. I expected to hear a blast of thunder again. Instead, I heard a cheer. Hooray for Geronimo Stilton! When the light came back on, the whole Cacklefur family was standing there. They had hung a banner in the hall. Come back soon, Geronimo, dead or alive. Shivering went to the piano. She played the Wailing Witch. Dame let Tom play along on her violin. Repella grabbed me by the tail. This dance is for me, my little spider web. We walked around the hall. Candles cast a soft glow of the light in the room. This is my favorite waltz, Crepella said. And you are my favorite mouse. When are we going to get married? I remembered Professor Frankenstein's warning and turned pale. Well, I... Luckily, the professor stood up to make an announcement. Quiet, everybody, he shouted. Then he walked over and hugged me. It's a shame you have to leave, Sir Gerbil, he said, but before you go, we would like to give you something to say thank you. Professor Frankenstein gave me a black plaque. There was a gold writing on it. This plaque is dedicate to our new friend, Geronimo Stilton. He bravely saved the Cacklefur family library. Boys gathered around together. Time for a picture, he shouted. Say cheese. I put on my best smile, but then I felt someone pinch my tail. I turned around. Too late. The camera snapped the picture. How nice, said Boham. How now you will always be a part of the Cacklefur family. I looked at the picture. And Liz, my black back will be, I said. Repella took my arm. Ready, my little pumpkin? It's time to go. All of the Cacklefur looked very sad. Snap and Snap gave me a small present. It's for you, Geronimo, they said. It was moved. Maybe they weren't such bad, the little mice after all. Thank you, I said. I opened the present. It was a small coffin. How nice, I said. I opened the lid. A small rubber skeleton popped out. and punched me in the snout. Whose idea was this? I asked angrily. He did it, said Snap. He did it, said Snap. Shivering brushed away a tear. Can I call you Uncle Geronimo? She asked. I can't wait for the wedding. When will it be? Never, I shrieked. Professor Frankenstein looked at his watch. It's getting late, Godfrey. You really should be going. We will miss you, Gilroy. The name is Geronimo, I corrected him. I knew it was time to go, but I did not want to leave without giving a speech. My dear rodent friend, I began. I just met you, but I feel like I have known you all my life. You will always be. I couldn't finish the sentence. Rapella drove the hearse right into the dining hall. She grabbed my arm and pulled me inside. Time to go to New Mouse City, my little spiderkins. We sped off. Behind me, I heard the Cacklefur cheer. Hooray for Geronimo Stilton. He's a strange mouse, but he is a true friend. As rare as fine cheddar. We drove away from the Valley of the Vain Vampires. I realized I finally had an idea for a book. I would call it The Secret of Cacklefur Castle. The Cacklefurs were definitely weird. We were so different, yet they were close to my heart. I learned something important at Cacklefur Castle. There are many mice just are different from us, but you can judge a mouse by his or her fur. You must look into his or her fur. Heart. If you are lucky, you may find a friend there. True friendship is as rare as fine cheddar. Is it a real gift? It is wonderful to discover that the world is full of friends we don't know yet. That is the truth. Or my name is not Geronimo Stilton. So, I already read this book. If you like the story, please subscribe and like. So, bye bye everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.